after this game. Referred to it as a humiliating loss to the Cleveland Cavaliers.
People are sleeping on the Cavs, and they got to stop because the Cavs are good. They had a little bit of a slide, but they had most of their star players hurt. And now that they're getting back to full strength, they are very good. They play very good.
They were pretty evenly matched teams, but the Cavs came out way on top. Because who do the Mavs have? Luka Doncic?
Luka. Yeah. They have Porzingis, and he got
They don't
hurt.
have Nowitzki anymore.
No, he retired like 4 or 5 years ago.
Oh, he did that long ago? Okay.
Maybe not that long. It's been a few years. Maybe like 2019.
They hang his jersey?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Anyway, 114-96. That's a solid win last night. Cavs go to 11-10. And they're off tonight, and then they'll be in Miami tomorrow night to play the Heat of Miami.
Mary and I were talking in the break about going to a Cavs game. She's going to the same one the next one that I'm going to, which will be Miami when they're in Cleveland. And Miami's
good for you.
No slouch at all. I'm so used to it now, I don't even hear it anymore. But they're a really fun team because they have a lot of size. So you have Darius Garland, who is a very good.
You're talking about the Heat or the Cavs?
The Cavs. They're
because the Heat are great right now.
The Heat are great, but the Cavs, I think, can give them a run for their money.
Sure.
And I think, especially with the home court advantage and everybody being healthy, like we're a few years ago when Blake Griffin was at his prime and Chris Paul was on the Clippers, they called them Lob City and DeAndre Jordan. And now that's kind of what the Cavs are becoming because they have 3 7-footers in their starting lineup. And so Darius Garland just drives to the hoop. People have to go and check him, and then he just throws these lobs to Jared Allen or Evan Mobley, and they just dunk it, and it's great. Very fun.
Of course, the Miami Heat, not to be trifled with, they've got Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, and Christopher Bosh. Looks like a Raptor because he played in Toronto. No, who do they have? Jimmy Butler now?
They got Jimmy Butler.
Who else? Pat Riley.
Bam Adebayo.
Bam who?
Yeah.
Now, Bill's trying to convince me.
Bam Adebayo.
Bam Adebayo.
Yeah.
He's trying to convince me that I'm going to like basketball. He's like, you should go. They're good. Have you been since they're good? Have you been since they're sober? Have you been? He's like,
is he trying to convince
because you really don't like, and I think it's strange that you don't, because you like so many other sports, and it's such a fun sport.
She doesn't have room for basketball in her life.
It's the fastest paced game of
it's the
all the
most
sports.
Boring of the sports to me.
Oh, no.
Way.
Baseball is much more.
So much
and
more.
I love
baseball.
Also, look at the way the Browns have been this year.
First of all, relax.
The Browns have been so boring except for like 3 games.
Baseball is not a dynamic game, and I love baseball.
I had to recalibrate after I got sober because I realized that I didn't love baseball as much as I thought I did.
You liked hanging out at baseball games.
Yes, I loved being drunk in the sun.
Right.
That was what I loved. So maybe I will like basketball a little bit more. But to me, like,
would you rather be sober
before,
indoors or drunk outside on a 90-degry day over the course of 3.5 hours?
Drunk outside.
Over 3.5 hours?
Yes.
In the July sun?
Yes.
You're just
bake me.
Oh, well, because you're drunk. You don't know anything.
I don't care.
You can't feel
sober,
anything.
I'd want to stand in the sun for 3 hours. Give it to me.
She likes the sun.
I like the sun. What I'm saying is, I feel like if you watch basketball, you can watch the last 45 seconds of a basketball game and kind of get what you need to get out of it.
You can do that with any sport.
No, because football, there's
you
less
can. It's
plays,
just
so
there
they're
might
more
be
important.
It's a quicker game, but I mean, you
Basketball
could conceivably do that with any sport.
Basketball is a game of runs, so you can like see a team go up by 20, then lose that lead, and so that's part of the excitement of can they hold the lead? Will the other team come back? Will you be able to, there's a lot more back and forth, I think, in basketball.
Although, William, I think you're on a fool's errand here trying to get her. She knows what basketball is,
right,
and has decided she doesn't like it.
Yes, I cheered for it for 10 years.
There you go. She had to cheer basketball. She had to cheer high-lie. She had to cheer competitive
Badminton.
bungee jumping. I don't know.
I'm sorry, bagmitten.
Bagmitten, according to Poundcake.
Love the athleticism of basketball, too. And then also, it's almost like watching a freak show because these people are so big and they're so fast and they jump so high. And you're like, how is your body able to handle all that?
Sure. It's like watching a marionette puppet show, but in real life. There's no strings that they're dangling on, but they're all big and gangly.
Got no strings on me.
By the way, do you think that competitive bungee jumpers would ever angle for home court advantage?
You stink!
Are there competitive bungee jumpers?
Listen.
Who can fall the fastest?
Right.
Or who can, actually smack the ground?
There's
and be
competitive
okay?
everything. I don't know. I don't know that there are or aren't. There's competitive everything else.
Competitive bungee jumpers.
Yeah.
So there's competitive parachuters?
Again, I don't know. I'm just saying the human race has proven to be extraordinarily competitive in ways that have nothing to do with anything. So who knows?
Could you imagine?
And that's a great excuse that just regular people will use all the time for being awful people. It's like, I'm just really competitive. I'm competitive. Yeah, that's not like a blanket statement that gets you out of every situation, right? There are situations in which being competitive, if it gains you a particular advantage, big picture, cool. Playing a game, right? But even that has its limits. You know people like this.
I was this person.
You were this person.
On it. Well, no, I've learned in therapy that a super competitive nature is rooted in insecurities.
Yes.
That you have to be the best because you know that there's parts of you that suck.
Yes.
So that's actually something I've been working on this year is to be less competitive because once you are more content with who you are, you don't have to be the best at everything.
Or to properly channel your competitive nature.
Right.
In ways that can benefit you and not lay waste to everything around you.
Ruining a friendship over a pool game.
Nothing wrong with competition, but yeah. So anyway, Cavs play the Heat tomorrow night at I think the United Airlines Arena is where the Miami Heat play. And that'll be 7:30 here on WMMS. 7 o'clock is when your pregame will get going. You know, before the break, I was talking about Walgreens, and I was there last night, and they had the display on the counter when you check out of the Adele CD. And, you know, Bill brought up a good point. It's because of the holidays, and they want to put this in front of as many people as they possibly can. And it's because of the holidays that you might want to steer clear. And, again, I have no skin in this game. It just occurs to me that if you're one of those people who stands there for a long amount of time agonizing over which cards you're going to send to people. People have more options than ever these days. You know, we all get holiday cards this time of year from people. They've printed them themselves. They've auto-stamped them. They send them out en masse, and you get them, and you go, oh, it's lovely. And some people will include a little note about, hey, this is what Jimmy's doing this year, right? And Kelly is graduating from Appaloosa State. Nobody cares. But you get these over the holidays. There are other people who like a more tactile experience, people who like to stand there and pick out the cards individually. And so it's why I hate to tell you that CVS has banned all their chimp cards. You can no longer go into a CVS and buy a chimp card.
Monkey.
Because the monkey. What?
I don't know if this was like a brand. Like if it was chimp branded greeting cards. I don't know.
You got to stick with Hallmark because they're not selling chimp brand cards anymore.
No.
Yes, chimp short for chimpanzee because PETA had a shrimp fit. And so CVS is pulling cards featuring great apes. So there won't be any more cards. It's at the CVS.
Now, were they dressed in costumes? Is that why that PETA was so upset? Or were they just out in nature?
Wearing costumes, displayed in studios, interacting with humans on these cards. You know, who doesn't love a chimp card? You know, they're arguably one of our closest genetic brethren.
Right.
So why not? It's like looking at yourself.
It's like,
on a
happy
card.
birthday. Hope you have fun monkeying around.
That's right.
We're going to
Go
miss all that.
bananas
Right.
on your birthday.
Have a Merry Christmas or this chimp will rip your chin off.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that one.
All I want for Christmas is a lower jaw. CVS has banned the cards from its nearly 10,000 stores. Wow. That they, because PETA said what this does, and I kind of get where they're coming from, but, and again, we've talked about this before. PETA has to do things like this to make sure that PETA is always in the news, because otherwise nobody would pay attention to them. So they have to. It's a combination of coming up with crazy crap like rename the bullpen the arm barn. Right, this past summer we talked about that.
Yes.
PETA wants to rename the bullpen at ball games the arm barn, which is ridiculous, but it gets them in the news. Something like this, they say that the chimp greeting cards, these are cards for Marion listeners, these are cards with chimpanzees on them.
Right. It's just so specific. I'm like, they didn't make a fuss about cards with cows on them or chickens or any other type of animal, just chimps.
Maybe that's next. Maybe they
dogs.
were dipping their toe
Yeah.
in the chimp pool. They say that these kinds of cards hurt conservation efforts because it misleads consumers into believing that the animals are doing just fine, when in fact all chimpanzees are classified as endangered. And so they go, oh, people see these cards and they go, now,
Yeah.
I think there's a fundamental flaw in this logic. When you're buying a card, I don't think anyone thinks, oh, look how great that chimp is doing. He's got a cigar and his own bicycle, and he could even afford a tux.
Right.
I don't think anybody thinks that.
Well, I mean, if you see a chimpanzee and it's a graduation card and they're wearing, cap and gown, you're thinking, hey, that chimp has really made something of himself. So I can see where people would be misled.
That chimp has really made something of
He's
his
not
or
worried
hers,
about
him
being,
or herself.
His future's not in danger.
No,
'Cause
his
he
future's so bright he's
worked
got to wear
hard.
shades.
Yeah.
And if you open it up, he is. PETA also says that portrayals of chimps could increase the demand for buying them as pets.
Come on.
Now, again, when you work for PETA, which I still contend is it's got to be one of the greatest gigs, because you are, if you'll pardon the phrase, you're just throwing crap against the wall to see what sticks. Much in the same way as the animals they're trying to save. So it's got to be great just working for their PR department, because half the time you're coming up with crap like Arm Barn, and the other half, you're trying to put pressure on a retail establishment to pull out the chimp cards. But I think this is great news. Here in Northeast Ohio, what do we have? We have American... Yes? We also have American Greetings, right? So this opens up a whole area. I mean, the possibilities are endless here. For American Greetings, because nature and retail abhor a vacuum, to get in on whatever they're going to be missing, CVS goes, we're pulling all these chimp cards. You ever paid attention to how many chimp cards there are?
No.
Spoiler, there's a lot. And so there's going to be all these blank things at your CVS, right? Rather than let somebody else fill that void, get in there, make some other animal cards.
Maybe this is how I get my name on the map instead of stand-up comedy. Mayor's greeting cards.
Why not?
Yeah, we should do this. Or, AC card catcher.
Listen.
We'll do Alan Cox Show greeting cards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Today, Big Mac pizza.
Right.
Tomorrow, Christmas
Or we can make
cards
those
from
ones-
Mary Santora.
We can make those ones that say stuff when you open up, and we can use sound clips. So it's like, sorry you went to jail, and then you open up, it's like, hey, I molest children, you know?
Yeah.
We could have great ones. We could do this. I think this is our time to swoop.
Sorry,
Hope you
went
have
to
a great...
jail.
Yeah.
Are you a pansy, Alan?
Oh!
A chimpanzee.
Happy graduate. A chimpanzee.
Yeah.
I didn't know that chimpanzees were endangered.
Well, that's their point. They go,
Well,
people
that's-
don't know that. I didn't know that until I
Also-
read this.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have a problem with that.
With chimps being endangered?
Yeah, because I grew up watching Planet of the Apes.
More competition?
And I...
If they're not here, less chance for them to take over.
I mean, yeah.
I read that robots can now reproduce. CNN reported that.
No, that
have
was a very poorly reported story. That's not what that's what the headline looked like, but that's not what that is.
Okay.
Robots can reproduce.
Well, there was a headline that would lead you to believe that if you didn't read the article. Wasn't BJ and the Bear a chimp? I'm old, so I remember BJ and the Bear.
Yeah, I remember BJ and
It
the
was
Bear
a trucker
too,
and his chimp.
yeah.
When the whole trucker
Listen.
craze of the 70s was huge, everybody was trying to rip off Every Which Way But Loose, and NBC comes up with BJ and the Bear.
But I'm just worried more about chimps becoming super smart, and then we go to war with them. So if they are endangered...
That's a long time from now, though.
Not if you watch the newer ones. Not if you watch the newer
The
ones.
newer chimps?
The newer Planet of the Apes movies.
With Mark Wahlberg.
Marky Mark, and there's one with...
With Paul Giamatti and all that makeup.
who's the other guy?
Who's the other guy?
With
Jason Isaacs and
the
Woody
Marky
Harrelson.
Mark one was from like 2000. I'm talking about
The new ones.
The new ones, like
Escape from the Planet,
James Franco,
War for the Planet.
Yeah, those
Gotcha.
ones. Those were very good, but scary because those. I mean, that was like in modern times. So it's like right now,
Well, maybe
not in the
maybe
future.
Alan Cox Show cards aren't that bad of an idea.
I think it'd be great.
Hey, look at this goat card.
GameStop was just like a scapegoat, I guess.
We could put Cody in a goat costume. That way we're not making PETA mad.
When
Look at this guy. They put him in a goat costume.
When your voice is in a greeting card, or like if you have like a talking or singing part in one of those, do you make like residuals from
Every
that?
time they
Royalties.
open it.
Yeah.
Not every time they open it, but like for every card,
3/5 of a penny.
every card they sell.
An angel gets its wings. You're just sitting there eating dinner, and What is that? Somebody must have opened my card again. Oh, God.
Yeah.
I really wish that would go. What is that?
They pay licensing fees, so
Yes, you get like a check.
Yeah.
And
I get
then,
like a
you know.
lump sum, yeah.
Imagine like, I'm so down to the dumps. I can't believe I used that stupid. I lent my voice, 10 years ago for something and it never got used. And then one day you open up your mailbox, you're like, you have $1 million. It's like
million?
someone finally
Poundcake doesn't know
wanted
how
to-
residuals work.
honestly, what you
Here's
should
a
do,
check for 8 cents.
there's people,
I don't own my masters of my voice.
there's actors and screenwriters that will go on TikTok and they open their residual checks in front of you, like live, and it's really interesting. Remember Rufio from Hook?
Sure.
So his name is Dante on TikTok, and he was going through, and he's like, oh, like he just randomly opens one and be like, okay, let me tell you what movie this was, because he was in a ton of movies. We never saw any of them except for Hook, really. But the dude's been acting for 30 years, and he was like, oh, this one is some dance movie that I did, and it was important to me because I was a dancer before I was an actor. And he goes through all this stuff, and Antonio Banderas was in it. Didn't make a lot of money, but he got a check for $400. He's like, hey, there
Why
you go.
not? Yeah.
$400 and $400.
Yep.
Wow.
I used to get residual checks when I would do national ad campaigns. And the biggest one I ever got was $1.36.
That's the biggest one you got?
Dude, you don't make money off this
you get
kind
the
of stuff.
studio. I mean, you get the big money up front. They pay you for the studio time and for doing the work. But then whatever the situation is with the client, you'll get a residual. But residuals are nothing. Especially, people who were like, "Oh, I'm getting, somebody who was on the show on some show in the '70s, still getting checks, but they're like 83 cents."
Yeah.
Yeah, especially because now things are consumed more through streaming than on television. So if you're getting a television residual or a radio residual, you'll get more. But if you're getting something from Netflix or Hulu or something like that, there was a writer, he got a residual check for an episode of King of the Hill he wrote, and he's like, oh, $8.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Man, you can't renegotiate.
No, you
That's
signed
what
it
strikes
10
you.
years
what?
ago.
Yeah.
There's a plan.
Hey guys, I know it's 10 years later. I'd like more money.
They tried to
Hello?
They did renegotiate a few years ago, probably 15 years ago now. Do you remember the writer's strike? Alan probably does.
Yeah.
But that was them trying to get better pay for, writers were trying to get better pay for streaming because they saw the way things were going. They're like, hey, we're getting nothing here. And
Yeah,
we
of
should be
course.
getting something. And so then they got a little bit, but they didn't get what they deserve.
That's why companies couldn't wait to go to streaming. Hey, how can we air all this intellectual property and pay the people who made it nothing? This will be great.
Now Spotify's kicking off comedians because they don't want to pay certain rights, and so they're just dropping albums like crazy. So boycott Spotify, get iHeartRadio.
Alan, I just Googled BJ Bear, and none of these videos have trucks in them. Yeah, well, you got to find BJ. I'm sorry, BJ and the Bear. Yeah, throw an ampersand in there, and I think you'll probably be okay. My parents got me the same chimp card for several consecutive birthdays. They stockpiled them at one point, which was a good thing, as Drug Mart eventually discontinued it.
Now they're collector's items.
Hey, look at that.
Sell it on eBay.
There you go. They're numbered. This one's 76 in the series. Okay, I got a break. You want to get a text for anything? 35192 to get us there. AlanCoxShow.com. Listen anywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
The Alan